Can I also thank the Honourable Member for Strangford for securing this crucial debate. And before I open, I'd like to echo the thanks today of the Shadow Home Secretary to our UK service personnel and all those who served in Afghanistan and assisted with the evacuation efforts from Kabul and Operation Pitting. No one can doubt their bravery and courage in the most challenging of circumstances. Their actions saved thousands of desperate people from a life of untold suffering and, for many, death. Madam Chair, it is now nearly 5 months since the fall of Kabul and the harrowing scenes at Kabul airport as thousands of Afghans attempted to flee the Taliban. Those tragic scenes marked a failure of government foreign policy in Afghanistan. And this is why the Afghan Citizens Resettlement Scheme and today's debate is so important. It is about standing by those who desperately need our support at a time when, dare I say it, our failure has helped to put them into an intolerable position. This is also about basic decency to those who believe in our most fundamental values and a free and democratic Afghanistan, no longer a base for terrorism. We simply cannot let down those who trusted in our country and who now deserve nothing less than our full support in their time of dire need. Now, can I say right from the start, I welcome some of the steps that have been announced today, including in respect of the resettlement scheme. Having said that, it's shameful that it's taken 5 months from the fall of Kabul, 144 days and thousands of hours for our constituents with loved ones stuck in Afghanistan to finally be given details of the resettlement scheme, how it will operate and who exactly will be eligible. How can it have taken so long? Instead, what we saw, all of us as members of Parliament in our constituencies, was constituents with loved ones in Afghanistan who were desperate to talk to them, get them out, support them. Like in my own constituency of Erdington, Abdul Latifi, who went through purgatory before eventually, with his 6 children, one of whom was disabled, were able to get out of Kabul. They would hang on every word from the Home Office because they wanted to bring their loved ones to safety. Now, government departments going forward seem to be engaged in a briefing war against one another. And it's the allegations, Madam Chair, that the proposed 20,000 target for the scheme will be bodged, and there does need to be clarity on this going forward. The government promised that under the resettlement scheme they would bring to safety 20,000 of those who could not make it out of Afghanistan in time and who now fear for their lives under the Taliban. Allegedly, now the government wants to roll back on its pledge so that those already evacuated to safety under the Arab scheme or by other methods will be transferred into the resettlement scheme to meet the 20,000 target. The Minister said earlier in the House that British nationals evacuated from Afghanistan should and would receive a level of support for the trauma they also experienced during the evacuation. Now, I agree, but that support should be given outside of the resettlement scheme. The Minister went on to say that, and I quote, "We have now granted the first people indefinite leave to remain under the resettlement scheme. They also included British nationals evacuated from Afghanistan." Is the Minister really saying that British nationals who have a special status are being included in the resettlement scheme to the detriment of Afghanis who are not British citizens? What is the point of the resettlement scheme if it is not wholeheartedly meant for them? Now, this would be a serious breach of trust, and we will not support any watering down or bodged counting that undermines our moral commitment to the Afghani people. When the Minister responds, I hope she can clear up the confusion emanating from the Home Office. I hope she can give a clear commitment that the resettlement scheme will be meant for those in the here and now still suffering under the Taliban. Also, can she please confirm that the Treasury will fully fund the resettlement scheme to ensure those 20,000 places are filled with Afghanis who aren't already protected by Arab or other schemes? And can she confirm that there will be family reunion provisions that work for those families separated from each other during the chaotic scenes at Kabul airport, not having ultimately, therefore, to end up in dangerous dinghies crossing the freezing English Channel to be reunited with their families. This matters not just to those desperately seeking safety, but also to our country's international reputation. Our country has a proud history of providing safe haven to those fleeing persecution. Any watering down of the resettlement scheme would be contrary to our most fundamental values of decency, honesty and fairness. And that's why we believe on this side of the House that we should and can do better than this. The resettlement scheme, right in principle, must not be watered down or delayed any further. And it is also critical that the government listens to the concerns colleagues have raised here in the House about the operation of the scheme. The honourable members from Strangford, Enfield Southgate, Wickham, the SNP colleagues, Erith and Thameside, Congleton, Glasgow Central. Real concerns that we as MPs have had in terms of desperately trying to support those in dire circumstances in Afghanistan, separated from their family and friends here in this country. If I can just say this in conclusion, the bravery of our service personnel and government officials who stayed on the ground in Kabul at great personal risk during Operation Pitting was the very best of Britain. The government must match their clear moral sense of purpose, do the right thing by the Afghani people, and without delay ensure a resettlement scheme of integrity, not watered down, not further delayed, that will genuinely help those who have been left behind. So if today has seen some welcome steps in the right direction, there are some fundamental questions that require to be answered by the Minister.